And they knew about that when they started work out here on the fort. They knew they needed some way to provide water. If you look at the top of the fort, you see mounds of dirt and sand up there with grass growing up on top. And they would collect rainwater. It rains, trickle down through there. They put sheeting in the walls of the fort and pipes underneath. There is a pipe right here that runs into one of the two 15,000-gallon cisterns, one in each guard room. And they collected rainwater, but they use lead in the sheeting and lead in the pipes, so it's not good to drink. But water does come now from a 480-foot freshwater well. It is checked daily. Maintenance does that, so it's good to drink. But this is a tough building, hurricanes, as you can imagine, out here frequently. And if you look up, you see arches everywhere, the doorways, the ceilings, windows, everything is an arch. And there's a reason, because arches are strong. Put more weight on top, they just, stay put. And this is all done by hand. There were no big machines back then. These were formed by hand. The masons were very talented. Compound arch there, if you notice that, three arches coming together. So, but very good work. And this would be called a casemate, or a cannon was in place. Cannon were on chassis, they had a tongue on them. If you wanted this piece of granite here, this is granite, and the tongue had a hole in it. They put a hole, a post down through this hole, captured the tongue, and when they fired the cannon, the recoil wouldn't shove it all back onto the parade ground. So, very effective. This is something else too. This is a window, door, right up there, called a Totten shutter. General Totten invented this. Those doors were closed. This one is broken, but if you walk around, you can see others that are closed. They have a gap at the top, about 4 or 5 inches. And the cannoneer would be back here. You close the cannon, look out there, again, 500 feet on a mile. To the water's edge, you fire and hook, and the doors would be closed. When the fire gases come out first, they blow the doors open, they slam against the wall of the fort. Cannonball comes out next, and the slamming of the door would shut them again. And that was to keep bullet fire out, rifle fire, for the cannoneer. You can still see out the top, the gap up there. It protected him somewhat. So, General Totten shutter. And these walls, by the way, are about 8 to 9 feet thick. Not all brick, they did put walls up and then pour in concrete, so it is very substantial construction.
So is pretty much everything here original?
100%. Except some of these areas that we do have a repair team that comes out frequently, not frequently, but often enough to check for bricks that are not completely in place, might fall, to keep it safe. They do need masonite, whatever you call that, put the brick back in place.
Wow.
Keep it safe. But, and we're going from here upstairs to see the can if you want to. Sure. So everybody's here is younger than me. And we're going up a spiral staircase. It is granite, does not have a handrail. So if you get up there and can't get down, I'm not carrying you down. Be sure you can come down. We'll go this way. Again, if you have any questions or comments, let me know. rest stop. All of these are placements for cannon, but anybody work for the government? No? Good. Like I say, even back then in the 1800s, the government had difficulty. They brought cannons out here, they brought the chassis out here, except they didn't match. So they were never outfitted totally. But we do have one cannon, a Rodman over here. We'll go take a look at it.
Looks a little bit bigger up close.
And there is no plastic on it. So this is a real cannon. It's a 15-inch Rodman. It fires a 400-pound cannonball. We have one downstairs in that guard room, so we'll take a look at it before we leave. Took 40 pounds of black powder, can fire that cannonball about 3 to 3.5 miles. But this is a smooth bore, not extremely accurate. But at the time this cannon was put up here, it was the premier coastal defense weapon of the country. And this cannon came up in 1870, well after the end of the Civil War. It came up here because there was an incident between Jamaica and Cuba. The USS Virginius was sailing, U.S. boat. The Spanish commandeered that boat, killed the captain, the crew, and 16 American passengers. The United States took that as an act of war, and they put 2 of these cannon up here and 2 rifle cannon in the center, but they were not used. They were, that incident was resolved peacefully. So, but you look at it, it's a heavy piece, that cannon barrel, the chassis. They could build the chassis up here, rivets and bolts, piece by piece, put it together. Cannon barrel had to come up over the side of the fort. The fort was finished. And they brought it up over the side of the fort using tripods and a big rope and pulleys. Pulleys are very efficient mechanical devices, as you know. And that's how they did it. Swung it around, put it down on the chassis. This was moved one time since then, since 1870. In 1973, the government refinished the cannon barrel. They picked it up and took it to Keesler Air Force Base right here on the coast. And refinished it, brought it back out here, put it down on the chassis. They used a Sikorsky Sky Crane helicopter. Picked it up, 50,000 pounds that barrel weighs. Wow. 50,000. And you can walk around to the front and see how thick it is. We have another display over here we're going to take a look at in just a minute. You can see the thickness of that barrel. But this thing could move in 360 degrees. It's on rails. See, the wheels have a hole in them.
Wow.
And we put a spike in it, and slowly but surely 360 degrees. Same with moving the cannon from side to side. Put a spike in, move it forward, cleaned it, loaded it, and fired again. Slammed that against the wall. One thing about this cannon is the concussion of the blast was so intense that, of course, you lost your hearing. Your teeth would crack. They put cloth in their mouths. And one thing they did find later on were your toe bones would actually crack. Had fissures in them, microscopic cracks from the detonation of this cannon. That's how intense it was.
You say they're toe bones?
Toe bones, yes. Tough business being a cannoneer. Very tough. And just not fun. Very limited time you could do that. And I mentioned water downstairs, but you see this curving granite right here? That reminds me, this is a gutter, rain gutter. You see the scoop in the center is carved out. The topology up here was a little higher. They would divert that water coming down here over to a culvert. Right here, there's a pipe in the bottom, and that would go down to the cistern downstairs.
Wow.
And speaking of water, see that post right there? See the top of the post? That's how high the water was during Katrina out here.
Wow.
32-foot storm surge. Covered the island, destroyed everything out here on the island, all the buildings, the lighthouse, the pier, the walkway,
So
towers,
The
everything
fort
was
was
gone.
completely submerged.
Yes, we were underwater out here. I
Wow.
wouldn't. But anyway, a lot of debris in the fort, but the fort held up. A few of these granite pieces fell off the outside perimeter, but they were put back up quickly. It just had a lot of debris inside. But the fort is the only thing that's been in place since it was built out here. A lot of storms. Camille was another, cut the island in half in 1969. It is back together again. They did put dredge material out there, and we have one island again, not east and west, but ship only. Any questions about anything? Comments? We're not going to miss the boat. Let's go this way.
So when the fort would have been considered active, the sound control, did each of those windows have a camera in it?
Yeah, that would be it. It would be 39 cannon placement there. Place 39 cannon out here.
Wow.
All of these areas are for cannon. This is a
We have kids out here.
No, it's cool. Some kid will come running back here and say, "I want to go in there." I said, Why? I said, and there are ghosts in there. He said, "Let's go." He invariably wanted to see the ghost. But I make all that up just for their benefit. Some adults have that trouble too. Want to see a ghost. This is a cannon just like the one we left, but it is in pieces, as you can see. In 1901, the government still regulated everything out here. They decided to get rid of all the metal in the fort, including these cannon that were still out here, especially these Rodmans, 15-inch Rodmans. There was a man in New Orleans his name was Mr. Marks. He was a scrap iron dealer. He wanted this cannon barrel badly. 50,000 pounds of scrap iron. He gave the government $2,000. He came out here. He couldn't move that. So what did he decide to do? He wanted to blow it up. He did. He stuffed it with dynamite. Drove holes in the rear of the cannon. Stuffed it with dynamite. Lit the fuse. Ran off downstairs. Came back up here. Just look what he did. Looked like this. He still couldn't pick up the pieces, so he left them. And he didn't make much money. He did take some of these rails that were downstairs. Some of the smaller cannon, I'm sure he made off with, but I don't think he made his $2,000 back. And besides that, the cannon blast that he performed up here was so intense. The lighthouse was right over here where that tower is. You can see the tower there. That's where the lighthouse was. His house was right underneath the lighthouse keeper's house. And blast went off and it broke his windows out. And it also damaged the Fresnel lens in the lighthouse. And he said, "That's as bad." So he got his shotgun. He came up here. The government was up here too. And they had, in the meantime, told Mr. Marks, "Don't do any more blasting." Lighthouse keeper came up here and he said, "Don't do any more blasting." Tore up my lighthouse. And pretty much that was Mr. Marks' exit. He left. But very intense blast, and you see the crack in the wall over here? That resulted from this blast right here. Actually cracked the wall in the fort. The government, thankfully, said stop. no more. So here we are. Questions? Anything about anything?
Where did the ones go that were downstairs? Were they taken out?
They were taken out. There were some, they brought pieces, parts out here, brought cannon barrels, chassis. Marks may have gotten a few of those, but they didn't work, so they may have packed them up on a ship and taken them back wherever they came from. It's hard to tell. And there's really, that was 160 years ago, and record keeping was not too efficient. So there's some questions about, like, just how many brick are out here. Who knows? Lots and lots of brick. By the way, if you ever go down to the Dry Tortugas down off Florida, you've heard of that, where Fort Jefferson is. It's the largest brick building in the Western Hemisphere, that fort.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Fort Jefferson. I've been there, and huge. You could fit this fort in the parade ground probably 15 or 20 times. It covers 17 acres, the perimeter of the fort.
Oh my
Huge.
God.
Takes up the entire island. And it's called Dry Tortugas. Tortugas meaning turtle. Dry because there is no source of fresh water. They had to use the same method out there as they do here, collecting rainwater. They don't even have a well. I think they do now, but all that water out there is very shallow. They have salt water.
Wow.
But all sorts of interesting problems and facts. So, no questions?
You might have said this earlier, and I might have forgotten. How long did you say it took for them to get this thing built?
It was from 1859 when they started till about 1866. And at that point, they pretty much said, okay, the fort is obsolete.
Yeah.
Let's quit. But they were right at the finish. And that's why, things kind of never got off the ground here, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's been like this ever since.
Wow.
But very thankful it didn't have a war to go through. Some of the forts, if you go up the East Coast, like Sumter and McHenry, they went through battles, poundings. And you can go in those forts, and they are remnants of what they were in the beginning because of all the war activity.
Wow.
So why Massachusetts?
Good question. You missed it. You came late.
Yep.
There was a man out here, Langton Smith, Union guy. The Confederates held the island and the Confederate flag up, and he fired on it. Boom. 20 minutes of cannon fire back and forth. Confederates and the Union, no damage done, and nobody got hurt. He backed away. Langton Smith did. But the Confederates left in September of 1861. He came out here, raised the Union flag, and pretty much that was the signal to start work again. And his boat was the USS Massachusetts. There you go. That's where the name came from. But it was called a fort on Ship Island for a short time, and then it was called Fort Twiggs for a short time in honor of the commander of the Confederate forces in New Orleans. But Massachusetts is what stuck. So here we have it. We can rename it. Seems like that's the thing to do these days. We don't have the Gulf of Mexico anymore. So anyway, if you want to go down, there is a stairway to the right, but it is dark down there. I always turn left down at the bottom of these steps and go back down the way we came up, and a little safer. Doesn't have a cap on top, and you can see your feet. Howdy, come on.
Awesome. See what it looks like.
Yes, sir. You can walk down, you can go down that way if you like.
Oh, go back down?
Yeah, it's kind of like this, you can go back around, come up in the center. Yeah, walk down there, the full cannon.
you wanna go in there and check out what's in there?
Oh, this is just another staircase.
I guess that's it.
Yep.